Hi. Me. Hi, folks. Wondering if you can hear me now. I relogged back in, had some tech issues, so hopefully you can hear me now. So if you can hear me, please, a little chat in there would be great. Hello? Oh, fantastic, Deborah. Great. Alan, excellent. Can you see me also? I had to change offices. And somehow the office I was in was not at the district office, would not let me connect properly. Great. Can you see me also? Okay. Well, maybe if I turn it off, it might be easier. So it will be less connection issue. Okay. Yes, the PowerPoint's loading. Okay. Perfect. So hopefully you'll be able to see the PowerPoint. So give it a second and we'll let everybody else come in. In the meantime, I'm going to put up my sticky messages again. Sorry for the tech issues, but welcome to, I guess, the tech world. If you're having some tech issues, one of the things is you can try Chrome in your browser. That might work better. So maybe log back in with Chrome or try refreshing the page. Deborah and Alan, could you let me know if the PowerPoint is loaded now, where you can see? I'm going to take my video off, see if that will help with the PowerPoint. Yeah, I just switched pages, Alan, and I came back to the head page. I don't know what, is anyone else having the same issues as Alan and Deborah with the slides? And again, I'm going to record this, so if you need to watch it back, I could send you guys the slides, and I'll go switching through them slowly. I took my video off. Maybe that might be an easier, and will be less tech issues with that. Well, I'm going to get started, and I know that you'll be going, well, we're having some tech issues, but I want to, hopefully it'll resolve itself as we get started. First things, can you hear me? I just want to make sure everybody can hear me clearly here. Because again, I will send the slides out, so if you can hear me, and then you could go back and you can see the slides. And a lot of the slides are just a couple words here and there, and a lot of it, if you can hear it, you're going to understand the content. So I'm just going to welcome you. Can you everybody chat in that you can hear me clearly? Alan, Deborah, Ellie, and whoever else is on board. Jack, same issue with Chrome. Sorry about that. Okay, Deborah, you can hear me, but your screen is dark. Patricia, you can hear me. Excellent. Okay, great. You can all hear me, but we're having some PowerPoint issues. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you guys an email with the PowerPoint. So if you give me 1 second, I will do that to anybody who registered for the event, and I'm going to send that PowerPoint out. And I can do it in a few seconds if you have access to your email. So, sorry for the technical glitch. I'm going to do it. It should take me a few seconds. If you wouldn't mind being patient with me, I want to make sure you have the slides and there's not an issue. Okay. All right, here they come. Hopefully you'll get my email. It's going to call slides for the webinar. And they're coming to you right. And please let me know if you do get it and you're able to open it up. Okay. Okay, I just emailed those out to you guys. Hopefully you can receive it. I send it to everybody because I just don't know just to grab all your emails. Okay, perfect. So check your email if you can pull up the slides. In the meantime, I'm going to get started. My name is Anthony Rusomano. Again, sorry for the technical difficulties. I am the coordinator for college and career for Futureology, which is the CUSD's College and Career Counseling Service program for the district. It's a free program. We do events such as this. We do in-person events. We do workshops, helping kids fill out applications, write essays. We do these webinars. And so hopefully you've either heard about us or seen us before. If you have not, well, welcome. Again, I'm the coordinator and I have 3 other counselors that work with me, helping do all the counseling and events that we have. So again, thank you for coming. If this is your first webinar, we have recordings of all our past webinars on our website at CUSD-Futureology.org. And if you look in the webinar locker tab, you'll find that there. Okay. Tonight is all about crafting an effective resume. So I'm going to take you through some key pointers. But before we do that, I'm going to kind of give you just the quick learning objectives of tonight. I'm going to take you through some basics of resumes. We'll talk about the content of resumes, and I'll give you some tips. If you don't have the slides, again, just listen, and then the slides, again, I just emailed them out to everybody who had registered. So hopefully you'll get it and you can watch along. If you're having trouble, again, with the technology or it's just the system, because it is a new program that we're using, hopefully you can hear it, and I'll describe what I'm seeing on my slides, okay? The platform we're using is called Webinar Jam, so just a couple housekeeping things. So my slide right now is just talking about housekeeping. If you have a question or a comment, you can chat that in. You guys are already familiar with chatting in because you told me you can hear me. If you have a question, then if you can actually mark right next to your chat, you can mark it as a question. There's a circle, and if you click it with the little hand, it'll mark it as a question, and I'll keep my eye on it, and I can answer the question either as it comes or I'll let you know that it's coming very soon. So I think tonight it could be my computer or the issue with Webinar Jam itself, why this PowerPoint's not loading. So we've done 50 of these and we haven't had issues in a long time, so I'm not sure why tonight. Just my luck, right? So for housekeeping tonight, again, just mark your questions in there and chat. I was going to also do some polling tonight, just some quick questions. So since you can't see the screen, my first, hopefully you'll be able to see it, I'm going to send out a poll. And my first question for you and my audience in my group is, I just kind of want to get a sense of who I have in the audience. Like, what is your grade level? Are you freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, or you have a child who is a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior? If you can see the poll, please answer it. If you can't see the poll, if you can chat that in too. Just kind of want a sense if I have a younger crew, if it's an older group, all seniors right now. Okay, perfect. So I have all seniors and some juniors. Excellent. And we're going to go about an hour tonight, and then I'll open it up for some questions. So mainly seniors tonight. I'm going to end that poll. The next thing I want to know, and I'm glad we can actually see everybody here. So my next question is going to be who are you? Are you the student or are you the parent? So I'm going to publish that one. I want to know if I have all parents, all students, a mixture. Okay, so more students, excellent. So parents, I don't know if you're here with your child or if you're separate and you kind of want to share that with them. So again, I sent out that PowerPoint. So if the child is not here, you can provide them with the PowerPoint and then the audio, and you guys can go through that together. Okay, so more students, well, welcome. It's always great to have the students here because it's your life and we're trying to help you here. So excellent. And now my next question in the poll, so we're getting, do you already have a resume or a draft already? Yes, no, and parent, maybe you don't know if they do or not. So just wondering if you have a draft of a resume. Okay, half and half. No, I don't knows. I'm going to turn my webcam on. I don't know if you guys, I'm still live here. I moved an office because the other office was not giving me any reception because I'm using the Wi-Fi at the district. So I am still here. But I'm going to take it off so you guys can focus on listening and we have no other technical difficulties. Okay, great. You have some drafts. Excellent. Well, I'm going to give you an offer at the end of this since the crowd is small tonight. For those of you who are attending, I'm willing to look at the draft that you have, but only after you've listened tonight and you've made some of the changes we talk about. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for entertaining me on the polls and the housekeeping on it. All right, so tonight, as I mentioned, if you can't see the slides, that's okay. I'll talk the slides through. Right now, the slide I'm going to be showing, if you can't see it, it just says resume basics. And if you do get it in the email, you can just open it up. And I'm just going to talk about a couple points about the basics of resumes. Okay. Again, if you have questions, chat that in there. If you have a comment or ask a question, please chat that in there and I'll do my best to kind of answer it on the spot. So in terms of resume basics, there's a couple reasons why we might be making a resume. You know, a lot of high school students, and that's who we're talking to here, but ideally it gives us a snapshot of your accomplishments, your extracurriculars, your hobbies, your work history. And you might either be giving it to a college, you might be giving it to a teacher, maybe they're writing you a recommendation, maybe you're looking for a job and you're prepping for an interview. There could be a host of reasons, but the first thing about the basics is determining what your objective is. And the resume that we create is going to be different based on the objective we have. So the first thing I can say, especially for those who do not have a resume yet, or you might have a resume or a draft, but it might be for the wrong objective. Okay, so one is determining what it is. For the most part, and what we do at Futureology is we help students with college applications, and a lot of applications don't even require a resume. And some of them even tell you, heck, we don't want one. But still, it's still important to know how to write one because, again, maybe for your applications, you might need a recommendations and your teacher is requiring you to give you a resume. And again, that's up to you or for whatever objective that you have. But it's really important to find out what you're going to use it for. In terms of colleges, just a little note on that and applications, you really want to check in with the schools to see and determine if they want one. If they don't, definitely don't send one. Like the University of Virginia does not want one. Other schools like Brown or BC, Boston College, Carnegie Mellon, it's optional. But even when it's optional, you may or may not want to turn it in based on if you put enough information in your application or not. So again, you're going to have to determine in some of those things. So you don't always need a resume. Schools like University of Texas says it's strongly recommended. And usually when I hear the word strongly recommended, you should do it. It's almost like taking your SAT subject tests. Some schools highly recommend you do that. So you should do that. So again, for some colleges, you don't even need them for the application. But again, you might need it later down the road. So hopefully this will be helpful in that sense. So again, determining your objective is really important and why you need to do that. So as we move on and we talk about the other reasons you might create a resume, or you might create a resume for an optional school based on your application, is you have a lot of awards or you have so much community service. And if you're doing the Common App and you can't fit 10 activities in because you have more than that, you might use it. But again, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do that. And that's where a lot of people make mistakes. Is like they make one and they don't necessarily need one based on what information you're putting in there. And we'll talk about what information will go there in a bit. So in terms of the basics, again, determine your objective. A lot of people, you might need them for outside scholarships too. So when you apply for scholarships, if you haven't done those yet, you might need a resume as well. I know a lot of the Simon Youth Foundation one, they usually like a resume. So for outside scholarships or school scholarships, you might need one. And again, we know that for jobs or internships, you're going to need one of those for those. The most important goals is the next bullet on my slide. So again, just because you can't see it doesn't mean you won't get the information. Well, the most important goal is your resume is really a selling tool. For the parents that are on the call, I'm sure you've used your resume and you know what it's like. For my students on here, you're outlining your skills and your experience so the employer or the graduate school or the college can see you at a glance and know your value, what makes you stand out, and what makes you unique. And so it really has to do that job in 30 seconds or less, because most people that are looking at resumes, they don't take that much time to look at that. So are they going to be considering you, rejecting you, and it's based on your resume. So in 30 seconds, you got to grab their attention. So it has to sell you. So it really makes sure you do that job. Or do that, what I call that advertisement of you. You are the product in this, and you need to get the people who are looking at it to buy you in some sense. Okay. So again, that's the most important job, and you're trying to get an interview on that. Now, obviously, if you're turning it in for a college, a lot of schools don't even do the interviews. So in that sense, you're looking to get an acceptance in that sense. Okay. And then those who are looking for jobs or internships. And by the way, if you can chat it in here for my students, whether you're using this for a college application, maybe an internship, a job, like why are you on this call? And you might just want it for just more information. But if you're looking at it for a particular reason, you have an objective, job, internship, scholarship, college application, please chat that in. I would love to know. Okay. So again, in the interview, if it's for a job or an internship, that's where you're going to elaborate on your accomplishments. So again, the resume hopefully gets them to give you an interview. And then in the interview, that's where you get to wow them even more and really elaborate on that. The third basics that I have on this slide is clear and concise. It's really important that you keep it short and simple in that sense. You want to have a 10 to 30 second skim where you'll be able to kind of really clearly understand what the person is about in that time. Again, the people looking at your resume, they don't spend a ton of time looking at it. So they're looking for specific things. And then the last bullet is about the types and formats of the different kinds of resumes. So when I talk about formats, they're usually either going to be targeted and customized to a prospective job or an internship. Okay, so targeted to that particular job. It's chronological. Okay, when we talk about chronological, you're talking about in order. So for example, I show in my slides, and I don't know if you can still see my slides, but there's reverse chronology, where you take people through the most recent down to the one that was furthest back. Okay, and usually you show chronology is if you want to show that progression. I wouldn't use chronology if there's major gaps in employment history. So there's reasons to use certain types of formats, and you need to know what those are. Okay, there's a functional format, and that's where you focus on your skills and experience. But most students, so my students here, you're probably not using a functional one because you probably don't have a lot of skills yet. And if you lack those transferable skills, you're probably not going to use a functional resume. Okay. And then there's a combination one. And those combination ones combine those, where you're actually doing both the skills and the chronology of your employment or your experience. And on my slides, I just show a few examples of those. And again, when you get my slides, you can kind of go back and listen and see what I'm talking about. But I just show you somebody who's a server with a functional resume, and it shows all the different qualifications and skills that are being highlighted in the resume. And then I have one that's a combination one. Again, not as important as understanding that there are different types, and you want to know what's going to work best for you. The person who is using a combination one is they're trying to merge both. They like the functional because of you showing some specific qualifications, but then you want to do the chronology and show but I wouldn't use the combination one if you're trying to highlight your education, which for a lot of students, that's what you're kind of doing. I would use the combination one if you're trying to highlight a developed skill set within a specific career. So those are usually the combination ones are for somebody who's been in the industries for a while. Okay. So again, those are just some of different types and formats of resumes. For most of my students, you guys are going to be just using your basic one that includes your education. We'll get into those content categories now. Okay. So I'm going to take you through the different types of content that go in a resume. Okay. So any questions up to this point? Also, if you're still alive and well, I'm going to show my face here really quickly. Let me know if you can see me. I want to make sure you can still hear me. If you can chat that in that you can hear me at least. And if you do see me, great. Chat that in. I just took the video off really quickly. Okay. Anybody here? Patricia, we still here? Landon, Nicole, you guys still here? Just want to check. Perfect, Alan, excellent. Hi, Ellie, great. Okay, Deborah, you didn't receive an email? Well, Deborah, I don't know who signed up for the event. If you did, I sent it out to all the emails the email that registered. So sometimes if a parent signs you up and they put their email, it goes to their email. Great, I'm glad you guys can still hear me. So the email went out, Deborah. I don't know what email you had registered for, so. Okay. Thanks, Ellie. Great. So, Deborah, if you want to email me direct, I'm going to put my email in the chat, ajrusomano@capousd.org. If you want to email me directly, I can send you the slides after we're done. Okay. I just don't have your email, Deborah, or the email went out and it got caught in spam or something. So I'm going to take you right now. The slides here are just listing the different content categories. So again, it's just bulleted stuff. So the content categories talk about the contact information, introduction, education, experience, all that. So we're going to walk you through the content that should be in a resume. Okay. And it's going to be different for everybody. But the first one initially is just the contact information. So here's an example of a resume if you're following along the slides. If you're not, basically I'm just showing you a name and somebody's address and phone number and email. So that's kind of the first thing of information. You want to have, first of all, a professional email. For my students, you shouldn't have, kitty cat 12 at whatever, or, something silly. You want to have something professional. For colleges too, when you're applying, I would also get an email that you check regularly, and that's a pretty good email that it's not, again, too silly or anything like that. And you want to have your address, the basic information, phone. That's the contact information. So very simple. The next piece is your introduction. And for my students here, you're probably not going to have a big summary because, you're still building experience and everything like that. You're going to choose either a summary or an objective. A lot of times it's an objective, which is a short sentence identifying either the school or the program to which you're applying to, or the job maybe you're applying to, and you tailor it based on where it's specifically going. For a lot of great resumes, you have an intriguing introduction, but a lot of times over time you develop that. So a lot of my students here, in 5 or 10 years, your resume should be a little bit more content heavy, and you'll be able to do more with it because you have a lot more involved in it. But it's basically an opening statement. It sets the tone of your entire either application, if it goes with a college application or the scholarship application, or sets the tone for your internship or your job interview, whatever it may be. And sometimes it can be the difference. So it's really important that your introduction speaks to what you need and want. And it gives if somebody's recruiting for the job, an overview of what makes you a good candidate. Okay. Or it's the same thing as what I used to call an elevator pitch. I don't know, for my parents, you might know what an elevator pitch is. For my students, it's just imagine that you're in an elevator with the president of the company, or maybe the president of the school or a college that you're thinking about. And you had, in an elevator, you basically have 30 seconds to go up, 5 floors or even less than that. What would you want to tell them? What would be so important? And so think of your resume as an elevator pitch. Okay. So as you think about that elevator pitch, by the way, Deborah, thank you. I got your email. I'm sending you the slides right now. So again, maybe you didn't get it. I just emailed it to you. So thank you, everybody. Hopefully, you have the slides now. So in terms of the introduction or the objective, there could be a career objective. So one way is the career objective is you're actually going for a specific job. And so you make that objective. I'm looking to be, a sideline reporter. I don't know what you want to do, but maybe you're doing it. Now, the one size fits all approach does not impress employers, and that's why the more specific you can get, the better. So for that career objective, that's really important. There's also another one, and if you see my slides, I'm going to take you through the different introductions, and here they are. One's a career objective, which I just mentioned. It's to a specific position. There's a qualifications summary, which gives the skill set of the candidate. There's a resume summary where it gives accomplishments, so not just skills, but accomplishments. Like I trained nationally a 50-person sales team. And then there's a professional profile. So there are 4 different types of choices you can make with your objective or your summary. It depends on what you want to use it. Most of the students here on the call, because you're high school students, you're not going to do the qualifications summary because you just don't have that skill set just yet. Unless I'm mistaken, maybe you do, then you might consider it. A lot of times it might be if you're going to grad school or college, it's not necessarily a career objective, it's a college objective. So again, based on that, you're going to determine which one you're going to use. And here's a little more detail. I'm using the slide now where I talk about some of the differences. Again, the qualification summary, you might say something like, I'm conversational in English and Spanish. So you're kind of mentioning you're bilingual. In a professional profile, you're talking about who you are and what you don't. I've been working in the industry for 5 years, and I'm an expert in a particular field. Your career objective might be, I'm a customer service representative and I'm looking to do a work in a sales call center. A resume summary, you might talk about your years of experience, how fast you can type. that you have a 95% satisfaction rating. Okay, so again, the summary or objective, you're going to use a different one. So everybody's going to have a different one. So I wouldn't copy somebody's resume and go, that's the one I'm going to do. You need to see what works for you based on what you have, okay? Or based on your experience and your background, okay? So if you were doing a qualifications summary, you might talk about your creativity or your efficiency or your management. Most people, again, if you lack experience, you wouldn't use the qualifications summary. Those with a career objective, if you're going to do that, you're usually doing a 2 to 3 sentence statement that gives you the overview of you and what you're looking for, okay? You should, if you're entry level or going to a specific school or grad school or career, you would use this type of a career objective, okay? That was probably one you would use. You know, hey, I want to apply to Slippery Rock University's physical therapy program. You know, that's something specific, career related and college related. The professional profile, again, is a kind of a combination. You should use that one if you've had some major achievements and you're applying in the same industry as you've done or a job in something you've done already before. I wouldn't use this one, professional profile, again, if you lack a lot of skills or experience. So if you're entry level or recent college grad, or if you haven't hit college yet, I wouldn't be using the professional profile. So again, I'm just kind of introducing you to some of the differences ones. I'm not going to get too heavy into that. So I'm going to move on to the next category, which is education. Okay, so the education one for my students now becomes very important. So now on my slide, I have a sample resume for high school students, and you know, there's an education one where you're going to mention your education areas, and it's probably one of the most important entries in your resume. Of course, you want to include your high school location, if you're in college, your undergrad college degree, what degree, your major, minor. You might add your GPA in, and the academic accomplishments you want to highlight. You know, you typically put your degrees in reverse chronological order if you graduated college already. So again, education becomes very important. You might add test scores in, you know, SAT or ACTs if you're high school students. You might talk about academic experience, AP, IB, honors type of stuff. Some of the coursework, whether it be summer programs, college courses that you may have taken at Saddleback College, if you've done that. And that's really important stuff. That's where you can kind of add some differences than the next student there, where maybe you did a business development internship and some of the courses you took with that, like entrepreneurship. So that gives you an opportunity to elaborate in a resume that maybe you either didn't do in an application, but again, most times in an application, all your education is listed. So again, do you really need a resume? If that's all you're adding in a resume is a lot of this education stuff and award stuff, you probably can put that in the college app, so maybe you don't need the resume. If you're doing it for a job or an internship or a scholarship, heck yeah, you have to do a resume for that. Okay, so education, you might even add, I've taken some government. If you're, government civics guy, you might add classes in that. Or if you're a psych guy like I was, you might add some of those. Or if you're a math science, some of the classes you've taken there. But I wouldn't give a laundry list of everything. You might add even some research you've done or independent study you've done. So that's the education section. Then you have honors and awards. So on my slide now, I'm hitting all the bullets. So honors and awards, you're talking about maybe scholarships you've won or academic honors like Honor Society or Dean's List or Student Council or school certificates, again, sports awards that you might have won, volunteer, community recognition, things like that. Maybe you're a Boy Scout or you're in a certain type of badge. That's where you put the honors and awards, okay? By the way, I'm going to end this with a lot of tips about in each of these categories. What should you be writing? How you should be writing that. I'm going to end with the last 20, 25 minutes doing that. The next bullet category is going to be experience. And this is where, for a lot of students, they feel uneasy about. Okay. Don't feel uneasy about it. I know, as a high school student, I was there once too. I had maybe 2 job experiences, and it might seem inconsequential. But again, understand that, a lot of high school students aren't going to have that breadth and depth of maybe work experience, but maybe you have it in a different way, whether it be volunteer or community service or other related experiences that you can tap into. So again, academic abilities are really essential to emphasize what you've done, but the experiences in the field can be significant too. And this is where you have the opportunity to expand on that. So, you're going to list your formal jobs and the names of the employers in this section. You might do even informal work experience and even activities here, because a lot of times, again, the skills you're developing with your experience are really important. So again, you might put your position, maybe you were a server or you were a hostess, so the title of the position, the employer, the city, and when you did that becomes important too. Or there's some longevity with it. Have you been doing lifeguards for, my son is in middle school though, but he's been doing lifeguards for 3 years now. Maybe he continues that on. So when did you start it? Are you still doing that? And then within that experience, you want to be throwing action words that summarize those accomplishments, the benefits from your experience, listing some bullets and using really strong verbs. And you try to aim for a couple, 3 to phrases about what you did. And that's where the strategy comes in. How do you describe the activity or the work? You don't want to just say, I worked for a department store and that's all you did. That's not really very descriptive. It doesn't give enough scope of what you've done. You definitely want to show the range of skills maybe you've learned through that. If possible, keep it really concise. You don't need to end punctuation and use punctuation properly in here, but you want to really bullet them and talk about, even if it's not paid experience. Okay, it could be informal things like babysitting or mowing lawns for your, or mowing the church's lawn or being stuff involved in the church. Okay, so understand that maybe, okay, I didn't really earn any money, but I do have some experience. Or internships, or maybe you've job shadowed somebody for a summer, which would be great. You didn't earn any money, but you learned a lot of stuff. So again, since maybe you haven't held a lot of jobs, you can draw upon all different aspects of your life that show your character, that show your work ethic, the different skills you might have learned, and even your personality. Okay, so that experience becomes really important. Maybe you did some job shadowing with your dad and he's into computers or tech stuff. You can talk about learning different tech programs and things like that. That becomes very valuable. Another category is special interests and activities. Even in hobbies are included in that. If you like to fish and you fish every weekend, that could be important in there too. Maybe you have a talent. Maybe you play a sport, something you do for the summer. For those that do that are athletes and want to get recruited too, when you put your online resume together, you include things like your stats, your position, your camps you attended, things like that. So again, interests, hobbies, and activities become, again, another way to show potential employers, internships. Again, if you're applying to college, there are parts on the application that you're able to do that in the Common App or the UC app where you actually talk about activities and stuff. So again, you might need a resume if you're including those in. But again, those, when you do the applications online, those are limited. So you might not be able to include everything. So there are additional categories you might want to include in your resume, such as travel, any additional experience, any development of skills that might be relevant, class projects that you've done, memberships, certifications, for example. Not that I'm doing my resume here, but I used to include this when I was younger, but I used to have a soccer coaching license and I coached high school soccer even in my 20s. I started coaching high school soccer at 19 and 20. So I would have that on my resume. So that was a license, and that's impressive to have something like that. a state license, or a certification like CPR certified. So things of that nature, you would want to put in an additional category if you had that. If you don't, then no, so be it, okay? And understand that some sections of your resume, like contact information and experience are required, but others are not. You don't necessarily need a career summary or an objective. You don't need that, but you might want that based on what you're using it for. You don't need additional categories like travel. So what you have to do is craft that resume that suits you the best, okay? Don't just, again, one size doesn't fit all. Oh, the resume looks exactly like my best friend, but you have different experiences and different things. Well, you might not be shining your best light because you're not using some of the categories. They don't have, maybe you speak 3 languages and you don't have that listed anywhere because it's not in the template you use. So then you have to edit it such, okay? Okay, so I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to move on to tips and topics like that and walk you through some of that. But for now, any questions? Ellie's following along with the slides. Hopefully you guys got my slides in an email and you can follow along because we're having trouble seeing the screen. Okay. Any other questions? I don't hear any questions right now. This is probably the most important part. They're the top tips that I have to help you really craft an effective resume. This is where a lot of people make mistakes about putting it together. Okay. All right. I don't know if you can see me, I am still here. I'm in an office, my old office that has nothing on the walls. And this is what it is. So it's kind of me in a room, really. Actually kneeling down because I don't have a chair at this desk or anything. So signing off. So here are the 10 tips. If you see the slide, you can see them here. If you don't see the slide, again, I'll name them one by one and I'll go through them. They're just a list of 10 things. The first tip is content that sells. And if you get the slides later, you can follow along with it. So content that sells, and I have some follow-up slides with it and I'll talk it through, but what I mean by here is your resume is designed to get attention. But the content of your resume and the descriptions you include in that about your skills, your abilities, who you are, that really is what determines the interviews you get, or if you get accepted or denied for something, sometimes even the salary that you're offered, okay? You don't want to be sticking important data in the bottom or not even mentioning it at all, okay? So what I would suggest you do, as you put together, what I like to do when I'm creating a resume is I put a lot of different, like bullet points down. And then I start rearranging them and prioritizing them by importance and impressiveness. Like I want something to be impressive. My resume is a skill resume as well as I have my my accomplishments. So I put my accomplishments first. And I put the one that's most brag-worthy at the top. Okay, so for you, again, content that sells. You don't want to hide that something that's so powerful and that makes you unique or something you did and it's hidden away. So again, use that content that sells. Here's something that doesn't sell. You're a high school kid and you were on the lacrosse team for one semester in grade 9. That shouldn't even be on your resume. I know when I was in high school, I listed everything that I ever did and I sent that off to college. Like they didn't want to know I did 100 different things and none of them well. Yeah, I was in the physics club. I went to one meeting and I put I was in the physics club. So again, consider what content you're adding and make sure it's appropriate. So I want you to focus on depth and length of commitment. So if you did something one time, that's not depth and length of commitment. It should probably not even be on your resume or even your college application. So for my seniors here, and most of you were seniors, you need to decide what activities and accomplishments make the cut. Okay, colleges would rather see you excited about a couple key experiences than just sporadic involvement, as I mentioned, that I did in like 20, 30 different things. Okay. So if having an after school job, maybe you had that and it didn't allow you to participate in some things after school or clubs or sports, make sure you play that up and play up your work responsibilities. So again, you have to, again, adjust it to fit you. Okay. Maybe you didn't have time for a job because you were so involved in your sport. Well, then play that up. That's, you do soccer 20 hours a week and you referee or you help coach or you run a camp or something. Then play that up. That should go, and that's really important. So prioritize that. And in this, the content that sells part, which is important, you have to highlight what's really relevant. The experience that's relevant to whatever your objective is. If you're trying to get a job or an internship, then, the core of your resume should be focused on that relevant experience, that you're proving that you have those skills or you're qualified for that objective, okay? So, you label the section work experience, relevant experience, professional experience, whatever you want. And again, the reverse chronological order for your experience is that's relevant to the job you're applying for, to what you're trying to do is important. Okay. And again, the 3 to 5 bullets after that experience. Okay. So again, if you haven't started or you have started, make sure, I would suggest making an outline of the experiences you had, paid, unpaid, and making sure you have the right language to describe all that. Okay. I'm going to show you a slide here. And if you're not seeing it, I wrote this down on this slide. I'm a hardworking, results-driven, team-oriented person with a drive to get things done. That sounds awesome. It's great. But, if I say I'm hardworking, I tell this to kids who also write their college essays. You can't just say I'm hardworking. What does that really mean? So if you were writing an essay and you're talking about, I'm a soccer player and I'm so hardworking, well, I don't know if I believe you, but if you say I'm the first one at practice and I'm the last one to leave and I spend an extra hour at practice doing free kicks and corner kicks to really hone in on my skills, that tells me I'm hardworking. You don't need to say I'm hardworking. So, what if you instead of you say hardworking or results driven, if you're seeking a job or an internship, you need to move to something more descriptive or give specific examples. Okay, how you embody those traits. So on my slide here, if you can't see it, I write something like, I make at least 50 cold calls a day, but I don't feel like I've done my job until at least a few of them transform into happy customers. I don't have to say hardworking. I could just say that, and that really gives you a visual of how hard this person works or what satisfies this person. Here's another one. I've been asked to join almost every team at work, including our party planning committee, our website overhaul team, and our group assigned to revamp our employee training. Okay, well, I don't need to say that, I'm on every team. You can say, like, I'm asked to join that. That means this person is really wanted to be part of something. They're a great collaborator. You don't need to say great collaborator because I'm asked to join that. Here's another one. I'm willing to swear off the occasional weekend to work on a project that I really care about. Okay. For me to have a good day, I need to have something productive to show for it. Or I've learned to channel these instincts well, and I'm excited about the opportunity to get things done in this role for you. So these are the kinds of things that really stand out, as opposed to just saying I'm hardworking, because most people are going to say hardworking. It's very cliche. So if you can find a way to move past the cliche and be more descriptive and have more than just words down on the paper, you're going to make an impact and you're going to be more impressive. Okay. So again, this is content that sells to me. So that was the first bullet point. Okay. The second one is I wrote use the power. And what I mean by use the power, it's really important that you use clear and concise writing quality, but you're using a variety of power words or action words. Okay. You don't want to just say, I worked this. You're using things like organize. I calculated this. I trained somebody. I researched this. I inventoried that. I designed something. I drafted something. Those power words really have more meaning, okay? You want to really find that. And again, you don't want to overuse them, but you want to use them, if you organized a group or you actually created something yourself, that's important to say. You don't want to say you worked on something, especially if you designed it yourself. Use the right appropriate action verb. Okay, so use power words. Okay, I'm going to send you some sample resumes. I'm going to send you some documents through this file sharing program. So when I send the file, okay, and I'm going to send you a sample cover letter, some example resumes, a list of resources, good links to draft templates, resume templates, some websites, career exploration websites, and then a resource list that has these links, and then a self-quiz to discover your strengths. I'm going to send those throughout probably in the next 10 minutes or so. So just download it to your computer, okay? So I'm going to send one now so you can see. So I'm sharing that, and just download it to your desktop. These are a bunch of sites that some links you can have. Okay, so my third tip is quantify. Okay, and what I mean by quantify, and by the way, I'm just talking now. I'm on the slide with all the tips. Quantify is we need to create images or vivid images. And this is what I talked about earlier too, is content that sells. People want to see dollar totals, numbers, percentages. They don't want to just see, I fundraised for my team. That doesn't really give the scope of it, okay? They want to know, how much did you fundraise, or how many weeks did you work on something? So using numbers to describe your achievements and responsibilities really elevate your image, okay? It gives me a vivid image, I know, in our mind, as opposed to a general statement, okay? The general statements are easy, people who are looking at the resume really skip over them, they forget them. Also, if you're getting teachers to write recommendations for you, quantify things so they understand it, because maybe they don't know fully what you're doing. Quantify those things, okay? So, if you were in the French club, what's your role? How many hours per week did you participate? Any specific contributions you did? Unique details about, I organized a team meetings, because you were maybe the president, of 35 people. Add the number of people in there. That's important. Or I regularly presented in front of the junior class of 350 people on these topics. Boom, boom, and boom. Wow, this person's a good public speaker, and you quantified that, okay? So I'm going to show you a slide now. And if you don't have it, I'm just going to talk it through about some activity descriptions. And you can tell me if it's good or it's bad. You can chat that in. I'm going to, so I'm going back to the chat. So for example, if I were to say account manager for advertising agency, you think that's a good or a bad thing? Is that a good description or a bad description? And because of time, I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. So on the slide here, I have these activity descriptions. So I'll read through all of them, and then you can kind of get a sense of it. How about this one? Manage 15 strategic accounts, billing in excess of $15 million annually. Okay. Well, that one's definitely good. It's got numbers all. Trained 5+ cashiers, manage their cash limits, and guaranteeing quality customer service at all times. Okay, you're telling me how many people you trained. Great. How about this one? Increase sales by 17% in a 5-state territory. Wow, that's pretty good. It's got some quantified numbers in it. Served up to 100 customers each shift at Chipotle. That's quantified. Fundraise for a soccer team. I just mentioned something like this. There's no numbers in there, how big the team is. I don't know what that means. It's not quantified. So these are some examples of quantifying or not quantifying. Worked at KFC. Nothing's quantified. It's really a bad description. Or this one's another bad one. Processed food donations and organized food pantry. Sounds cool, but it doesn't really, like, how many donations? How big was it? Or maybe you just put one can on the shelf. But you really want to quantify things. So again, those are examples of quantifying things. I also have some slides here showing you examples of a layout, what the layout looks like, some action verbs, the power of action verbs in a resume. So on this slide here, it's just showing you different action verbs and the power of them. This one, some good content that sells. Here's a resume, youthful and yet very mature. Like, oh, that's pretty good content. So, youthful but mature at the same time. So there's a few good words in there that you can take a look when you get the slides. Okay. Another tip that I have for you is about your strengths and your skills. Okay. It's really important that, and a lot of people, they don't know how to highlight their strengths and balance their skills. Okay. When you're looking for a job or an internship or a scholarship, you want to highlight and check out what they're asking for, what they're looking for. And then tie into what's most relevant to the potential school, the potential employer, potential scholarship. And also in your resume, if you're things you weren't able to write about in your college essays or short answers, you can use the resume to show something new. So, for example, if your devotion to photography didn't make it on the application, but it's a big part of who you are, this is a great place to showcase your credentials of photography in your resume. So again, when you're applying for a particular job or internship, it's really important to highlight those skills or include those skills that are related to those jobs. Okay, so again, determining what bullets you support the job or this objective that you want, put the strongest, prioritize them, and really this is your hook for the reader, and the rest of your resume reels them in with those skills. Okay, so you really have to highlight them and mention your achievements. Okay, now I'm going to take you to a slide of hard and soft skills. A lot of people don't know the difference between those types of skills. Okay, and that's really important. Hard skills, okay, first of all, people who are hiring people that when you go to colleges, people are looking for talent and skills. And when you graduate college or you're looking for jobs 10 years out of college, people are looking for skills, not just hard skills like I can speak a language or I can public speak or I know HTML, ML. Those are hard skills. But then there's soft skills of organization or your discipline or your diplomacy. Those are soft skills. Okay, those are what we call, if you're looking at my slide, there's a glacier. And hard skills are listed, it's above the water. Well, the soft skills, usually in the glacier, it's bigger on the bottom. And that's where the soft skills are. It's under the water, it's under the surface. And you need to know that there are differences. You can't just list hard skills. You want to talk about some of, especially those soft skills. Those are more personality-centric traits. I have two sons, two boys, and they're very different. My younger son has a lot of soft skills, and he's very touchy-feely. We just got a cat, and he's always petting the cat. My older son won't touch the cat. Those soft skills of being able to lay on the floor and have empathy for the cat and really show those things. You can't really quantify those sometimes. And those soft skills, those personality-centric traits, you still want to have those. A team player, you really can't put a score to some of those things, but it's really important. Cultural intelligence. So different things like that. Those are soft skills. Those hard skills are still important as well, but you got to know there's a difference, and you want to make sure you have a good balance of those skills. Managers or colleges, they want to see differences in those, and you have both of those. Okay, so really, really important. So again, if you look at the slide, you can see some of the other skills that I mentioned, hard skills, and maybe you're a good typer or you're good on the computer or graphic design. Those are hard skills. So anyway, So that was another top tip. I'm going to head back to that slide. Another one is matchmaking. And what I mean by matchmaking is, a lot of people just write things on a resume, but they don't use the titles or the headings that match either the jobs, the scholarships that they're looking for. You really have to craft those to make sure that they match, okay? The same with the college. I tell students all the time, some people apply to colleges, and I'm just talking in general, not resumes now, but apply to colleges that don't even match their personality. Well, colleges, they can check that through. Like if you're someone who likes small classes, you shouldn't be applying to a school like UCLA where you're going to have 300 kids in your psychology class. Matchmaking is really important, and you also not only do that with college, should be doing it with the colleges you choose, but also in your resume. So again, finding jobs and making sure the skills match your skills, and the headings that you use on a resume match what you're writing about. So and when you're even looking for a job that requires getting paid, you want to make sure it matches what you're putting in there, the level of the job or the money that you want to be paid. So if you're going to be a babysitter and you're creating a resume, or you're going to go take an internship somewhere and you want to be paid for it, make sure it matches it, and using the right language for that job. You don't want to be getting paid, $12 an hour when you could be getting paid $20 an hour if you had better language in that. So that's need matching on a resume. And so, the colleges, if you're sending a college resume in, they can spot inconsistencies in your application materials tied to your resume. They won't hesitate to call you up or know that you're fibbing and not being accurate or honest. But at the same time, too, you can, I'm not saying embellish, but you need to really describe it in a way that really matches. Okay. The next one, number 6, and I have 10, so I'm almost finished here, is positivity and performance. I have it on the slide as P and P. Your resume, your interview, it has to be positive. Leave out the negatives and irrelevant points. Some things you do, or maybe you put things you don't like on, you're describing something and you're listing something, and you might even say in your resume, well, I have to clean out the pantry and I don't like doing that. You want to leave that negativity out. Don't include that stuff. Focus on the duties that support your objective, and leave out irrelevant personal information. You don't need height. You don't need certain things. And then promote your attitude and performance. They're most interested, people that are hiring you for a job or colleges, they want to know what your habits are, what your attitude is. Being a high school student, my students on the call, they don't expect you to have a ton of experience. Okay. So again, P&P, positivity and performance. The next one is having a friendly layout. So I say be friendly, but what I mean by be friendly is having a friendly format and layout. Too many times, I hate when I get a resume and I can barely read it. The formatting is off. I was a marketing guy many, many, many years ago too. And so I hate when the layouts are really bad. It's hard to see, hard to read. I don't like when someone gives me their essay and it's, 2-point font or, all these things. So your font needs to be the right way. You need to have enough white space. It can't be too cramped. Look at a newspaper or look at a magazine. What ads do you like? What grab your attention? Are they full of text? Are they jammed out? What kind of spacing is looked at? So have good visual elements to attract attention. Make sure you have some things that are highlighted or bold that make things stand out. Give the design that's going to grab the attention. I like to bullet my sentences. Some people don't. I like that because it's more catchy and you can kind of point things out more. Okay. So there's a lot of formatting tips. I just don't have the time to walk you through everything, but it's ease of reading and flow is really important to me when I'm looking at resumes. Putting headings a little bit bigger than the descriptions, some things in caps, sometimes bold. Again, things that maybe jump out. You try to avoid too crowded things, too many abbreviations so you don't understand things, too many colors or too many different fonts, crazy fonts or characters. They're kind of really weird. So again, make sure be friendly in your format. The next tip I have is third-party, advice. You should get some outside opinions before you send it off. It's really important. I wouldn't get too many because then you're going to get you'll never be done. But a couple is really good. Make sure they proofread it. That's an easy tip. That makes sense. It's common sense with that. Number 9 is, I say, Taylor Swift. If you guys know Taylor Swift, my students. But I have Taylor as Tailor. So if you can't see the slide, the pop star is with a Y. But what I mean by Taylor Swift is you need to tailor each resume swiftly, quickly, to each position or school or reason, just like you do with your college essays. So my seniors that'll be writing essays this summer, you need to tailor those to the particular school, okay? And the most effective resumes are focused on specific jobs or programs. I know when I was applying to grad school, I was writing really specific objectives and tailoring those to the school that I wanted and what they had to offer. A little bit more work, but more valuable, Also knowing your audience, and you have to tailor that to them, whether it's an employer, a position, a company, a school, a program, a teacher. So it's really make sure you're tailoring the resume. And then the last one is tweak and target. You need to just apply for scholarships, apply to internships and jobs, and based on some feedback and what you either no response or anything, start tweaking it, okay? You'll generate more interviews by continually tweaking your resume or your cover letter and really doing it. If you wait for the perfect one, you might never apply to anything and get called back on anything. So I really believe in sending some things out, trying a couple different formats, seeing what works, tweaking them constantly, and adapting to that. Okay. So those are 10 of my tips that I have. I know we're running a little bit over an hour now, so that's kind of on time schedule there. Here, I'm going to show, if you can see the slides, if not, follow along with me in the slides that I emailed. Just some sample resumes. Here's one on the slide here that I'm showing, how they're highlighting their strengths and their professional experience. On this slide, again, quantifying things of what they've done. How much money or how many people they've trained, as well as, how they've matched their headings and they call it core competencies or skills that they have, strategic planning or medical sales or needs assessment, things like that, based on probably the job they were looking at had talked about needs assessment, and that's now in their competencies. So again, it's something you can, again, look at when you see the slides, if you can't see them right now, but not a big deal, as long as you're kind of hearing me and kind of what I'm talking about. Here's a couple more resumes of some that are pretty solidly kind of different looks. Again, what jumps out at you? What do you like? Do you like the capitals for the headings? Do you like the introduction? Take a look at some. Looking at more gives you more ideas. I wouldn't just say copy exactly one. You need to make it work for you. I'll quickly go over some of the top mistakes and then, again, open it up for questions. But, obviously just making too many grammar errors or misspellings, they're killers. Make sure you check those. Have people look them over, spell check, all that. Things that are outdated or your skills that are outdated, or make sure you're updating your computer or technical skills. Sometimes too much information. I used to have this issue. I would tell people, and I remember just in high school and looking for jobs, I would tell them the 42 awards that I won, and some are so irrelevant, and it almost made me look worse by including that. So don't tell readers everything about either each job, each award, each thing you've done. I know you want to brag a lot, but, again, prioritize, okay? Too much information is not a good thing. Leading your paragraphs with irrelevant duties. I organized files. That doesn't really say something. Give me the hardest hitting stuff where you have key skills or something like that. Maybe, managed, 50 calls, customer calls a day, handling customer service or something like that. That's more hard hitting than, and maybe you're putting, filed away things. And that, well, I'd rather take the calls. That's more hard hitting and more skillful. Not quantifying accomplishments. Again, that's not, that's important that you need to do. And, again, irrelevant duties, things you did that really mean nothing to the job, the school, or anything you've done. Make sure, again, they're important stuff. And then sometimes being too modest, it's okay to share things, promotion or how you increased team morale or increased donations. I had I talked to a girl the other day, and the donations, she's been doing this for a couple of years, and the increase in donations she's had, I'm like, well, great, let's write that down. How much increase did you do over the 2 years that you were really involved? Don't be too modest, okay? All right, here on the next slide, I show you an example of a bad resume, okay? And here, I'm gonna send you guys share some files here. Let me give you a sample cover letter. And if you watch it back, you'll be able to get some of these things. But on this slide, it's a bad resume. So look at the objective, the summary, the education, work experience, volunteer, and see some of the stuff this person's writing. When are you available? I'm mostly free, but I go to the gym. Like, you don't need, again, sometimes irrelevant information. If you're looking for a job or an objective, then don't list that. There's better ways to write things. Good at updating my Snapchat and Instagram. A better way to write that is, social media savvy. Forget your chat Snapchat. You're just saying you're, very good at social media. Watching my niece on Saturdays. There's a better way to say you're a babysitter, or what you did with somebody. So again, take a look at something. When you look at some things that aren't good, you can see how you can change them to make them good. I'm going to send you I just sent you a sample cover letter. I'm going to send you a way to discover your own strengths. Okay, so take a look at that, download it. This Discover Your Strengths one is just kind of a self-help quiz. And what it'll do is it'll challenge you with some questions, like what do you do to help out at home when you have free time? And just by answering some of these things, what you'll know is maybe you'll come up with some things for your resume. So if you haven't started, or even if you've started and you feel like you need to do something, it'll help you get more introspective. Name 6 qualities or characters of other people you admire. That might be good. What courageous things have you done that made you feel good about yourself? Like my son jumped off the pier for lifeguards. Oh, that's interesting. So maybe something from that might come out for his resume. All right, I'm going to share another file. Again, I'm going to keep... Here's an example of a resume. Now, the resumes that I'm going to share, they're not all the best resumes, but they have good parts to them. And I'm going to show you on some slides some good parts to those resumes that I like. Each one has a good thing. So again, take what you like. You'll see some activities that are written well, some hobbies that are written well. So in these next few slides, you'll see extracurricular experience, proficiencies, like this person's proficiencies are listed pretty well, the languages that they have, or some of the awards that they've had. All right, here's another example resume. Here's number 2. So download it quick and I'll keep sending them out. So as I keep sending you some more files to take a look at, here's another example of a student. He did some qualifications first, his communication, teamwork. So this is another way to do it instead of putting your education first, and then experience highlights. So again, take a look at some different ones that I'm sending out. What's going to work for you? As I mentioned, if you came to this call tonight, and those that are my last bunch that are on the call, if you have one, and after you redoing some of this, after listening to some of the things I talk about, feel free to email me. Say, Anthony, I was on your call. I want you to take a look at my resume. It's for a job or an internship, a scholarship for college, whatever it may be. I'll take a peek. I'll give you some feedback on them. But I need you to just say, I was on your call and I wanted to have you look at my resume. If you haven't started one yet, then again, download some of these templates. I'm sending you a third template. And see, again, combine the ones you like and create one and then send it my way. I'm happy to take a look at them and kind of make some comments on them to help you with that. For my seniors that are here, and there were a lot of you, we have some upcoming workshops on career exploration, writing your college essays, a few other things with getting your college applications together. So make sure you visit our website and register for some of those events because I don't want you to miss that opportunity as well. Here's a fourth template example that I'm going to share. So with those people still on the call here, please, I want to open it up to some questions you might have, if you've got some. And then at the end, and you'll see it when you get my slides, I have, I'm not going to go through that. I have some resources that, again, I sent you in one of the examples handouts. And you'll see some career zone, resume builder. There's a lot of great resources that I sent you, but you'll have that one-pager handout with these links. Julie asks, should the resume be one page? Great question, Julia. I get this question all the time. It depends on what it's for. If they direct you that it should be one page, then make it one page. But typically, for some of the things, you need to have it more than one page because whether it's a job, the work experience you have. My current resume is 2 pages, or when I got this job, it was 2 pages. But you need to see if they have directions on it, and so it depends on your objective, and also depends on you and what you have to say. If you're applying it for a college application, you might have put a lot of stuff in your application already, so it might not be 2 pages because you don't have enough to say. If you are applying for an internship and maybe it's an internship in photography, you might have a lot to say about a lot of different things you've done over time. So again, I would say you don't necessarily need it to be one page. I think when you start putting the content together, you'll determine if you need it 1 page or 2 pages. And again, the key to knowing if it should be 1 page or 2 pages is that irrelevant information? Is that really important content? My story about, I was in the physics club, or you're on the lacrosse team for half a semester, that shouldn't even go on there. Yet we have a need to want to put everything down, but that's not the important thing. We need stuff that makes impact. So if it's not making an impact, then it shouldn't be on your resume. And if you have enough stuff to make an impact that should go to 2 pages, then make it 2 pages, okay? It's obviously cleaner in 1 page, but. So I'm gonna send you a couple more handouts, let the questions come in. Great question, Julia. I'm gonna give you another template 5, share that with you, download it. So again, some of the resources I sent out, like Career Zone, is great. You can go to Career Zone, sign in, create a free account, enter your information, and you can create a resume. They have a resume builder on Career Zone, so you can kind of go through it online and build your own resume. Career One Stop has their own resume walkthrough. There's writing tips. So again, I give you a PDF and a link for power verbs. And there's something from Resume Genius, different cover letters. So there's a lot of things I'm sending you. So download the stuff, the resource page that I sent you, and you'll be able to get started on it. And again, there's so much information, you can kind of overwhelm yourself. But again, the best thing to do if you haven't started is just start putting down things that you've done and just seeing if it makes the list or not. And you can start. I know your parents can help you out if you're my students. And parents, you can help your students by saying, oh, well, that wasn't that important. You should cross that out. So you guys can help each other out. All right, I'm going to send you another one, my last thing. And we should be good. So on the resume, can we include accomplishments from a middle school, elementary school? Well, Julia, probably, well, it depends on exactly what it is. Typically, it's the same with college. When you apply to college, you don't include activities from middle school or elementary school. You don't include the classes you took in that age. Unless it's something like you were a Girl Scout from 3rd grade to now, well, then that's different. If it's something that has really shaped who you are, maybe it goes in your college essay and not necessarily on your resume. So it really depends on what it is. But for the most part, if it's one of those listing of things, it's typically not stuff from elementary school or middle school. Like, oh, in elementary school, I was a great finger painter. So you put that as a skill, but you don't really do it now. That doesn't make the grade, it doesn't make the cut. So Julie, if you told me exactly what it was or more detailed or emailed me, I could give you a better idea. But typically we don't include stuff that was that long ago. It's almost like, where I'm at now professionally, I don't include stuff, where I was working when I was 25 because it was so long ago and it's more irrelevant. So again, is it relevant or irrelevant? You need to determine that. So it really depends. Alan. What if, for example, I can read Korean, but I can't speak it nor understand what it means? Okay. So my question to you, Alan, is what can you do with it? Is it a skill that you use? And if it's something you use or it's beneficial to the objective, then sure, put it down. Don't just put it down if it means nothing. So I don't know what you're doing with it, but if it's applicable or relevant to what a scholarship you're applying for or an internship you're applying for, then use it. If it's irrelevant, so that's what you guys have to determine. Is something relevant or irrelevant? I can do a bicycle kick, Alan, in soccer. Or I can do a throw-in where I do a flip throw-in, Alan. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but I do a flip throw-in where you flip on the ball and I can throw it like 50 yards. It's pretty impressive. It's impressive, but I wouldn't put it on my resume because I can do it. It's impressive. I would only put it on if it would make it it would help me get a job or anything like that. But it's not a skill that is worthwhile for a resume unless I was applying to be a soccer coach and that high school I knew wanted their kids to learn how to do flip throws. Then I would probably tell them that or something, So Julia, captain of a soccer team for 4 years. I played the flute for 4 years, and doing that required doing 0 period for 3 years. Julia, is this something to do with middle school or elementary school? Or are you talking about now? Like if you're a captain of the soccer team for 4 years and it was high school, that's great. Put it on your resume. But again, if you're filling that out on a college application, so middle school, are you playing soccer now? Let's put it that way. And if you're not playing soccer now, or what's the objective? Again, so what's your objective? If it's for college applications, it's irrelevant. So you're not playing soccer now. You did something long ago. No, then it's irrelevant. Unless something, whatever you're applying for, internship or scholarship, require that you played soccer for a period of time. Do you understand? So like, again, is it relevant? Is it applicable to what I'm doing? If you're just trying to throw things and look impressive, that doesn't look impressive because you don't play soccer anymore. So again, you have to put it through this filter, guys. So Alan and Julia, put it through this filter. What's my objective? Graduate school, college, scholarship, what is it for? And then the filter of, is it relevant for what I'm doing right now? Or would it look impressive? You know, no, captain of a soccer team 4 years ago means nothing now. Now, I played the flute 4 years ago. And doing that required doing 0 period for 3 years. Well, okay, so what does that mean? So is there a skill that you gain from it? Like I'm punctual, I get up early or something like that. Then maybe you mentioned that as opposed to playing flute. Can you read music? And what is your objective? Something in the music industry? Then maybe it's relevant. That's what you have to see, Julia. And so again, you guys have to put these things through the filter. The resume isn't just a list of everything. It's supposed to be relevant. So again, the things I talked about, highlighting your skills and your strengths. But even if it's a skill, like, do you have the skill in that you play the flute, but can you play other instruments? And learning the flute's allowed. Now you can play piano because you understood music and stuff like that. Patricia. Can you put perfect attendance 6 through 8, also 9 through 11? Well, again, Patricia, my question to you is, what is the objective? What's the resume that you would put perfect attendance on? Right? Like, would you put perfect attendance 9 through 11th? So, work with me, Patricia. How can you write that in a way besides just saying perfect attendance 6th through 8th grade? We talked about this earlier. Like, how could you go about saying something like, I'm a hard worker? Like, you know what, that you're basically, instead of saying hard worker, is like, I attend school every day. Can you say this in a different way that's more powerful? Like, could you say something like, again, and I don't know if this is true or not, commitment to what? Like, why are you, my question to you, Patricia, I don't know if you're the parent or the student, but my question to you is, my son's like this. He doesn't want to miss school. And I tell him why. He doesn't want to miss out on, like, he's afraid of what he'll miss. Like, is there something more there than commitment? Like, why do you have perfect attendance? Is it a personality thing? Is it a soft skill that we have? Perfect attendance is the action. What is the soft skill, or what is the thing? Is it commitment? Is it I'm fearful of missing out on a learning opportunity? Is it I'm so dedicated to learning? What is that? And whatever that is, it might be better than saying perfect attendance. You might say, I'm committed to learning, that I haven't missed a day of school in 5 years. That's the bullet point, maybe. Do you understand that? That's more powerful than just saying perfect attendance. Because now you're telling me about your personality. Because perfect attendance is maybe your parents made you go to school. Or maybe I'm dedicated to learning. So if you like that, I'm dedicated to learning that I haven't missed a day of school in 5 years. And it's not my parents making me go. So what does that say about you? That, like, I want to go. I want to be at school. So that's powerful to a college. That's powerful if you were to write that in an essay. And it's powerful to an employer. Why? Because they know you're going to go to work all the time and you're not going to miss, and you're dedicated to whatever it is that you do. That's probably more powerful than perfect attendance. I would say it in a different way. So sometimes when you say something, it doesn't give the full meaning behind it because maybe you're not explaining why you've had perfect attendance. Now, for some people, perfect attendance isn't that meaningful. Why? Because maybe they hate being at home. I don't know. So it could be more. So again, whatever it is, and you're going to put down, what is the relevance and what's the meaning behind it, and how can you say it more powerfully? Does that make sense? Or maybe it's you didn't expect to get perfect attendance this long, but once I started it, I don't know if I would say I was obsessed with it, but I liked having a streak. Like I like having streaks myself. I'm a sports guy. Like if I've won one game, I like to win a second game. And once I have a streak going, I like to continue that streak. So maybe perfect attendance for somebody else is about the streakiness of it. And they're a streaks person. And it says different than the dedicated to learning. But it says two different things. And some employer would like the streakiness person, and some employer would like the dedicated to learning. Okay? So you can see how it can be different for two different people. Okay? All right. Any other questions, guys, as we wrap up? But great questions. I like how you're interacting with me. Hopefully you gained something from it. All I want to wrap up with is, one, I appreciate your time and staying with me this long and with the technical difficulties. But whatever you do, be a high-impact player inside and outside of class. Effort is the great equalizer. Remember to be a kid. There's still things I know we put a lot of pressure to be at school and do it. But find the things you love to learn about and learn more about them. And make sure this process of college admissions, resumes, jobs, and everything is fulfilling to you. It's meeting your needs and your goals. And that'll put you on a better path. So again, thank you for your time. Again, Futureology is a program to help support you in your process for college and career. And we're your partner on this path. So hopefully you guys will follow up with us, come to some more of our events, and thank you again. My email and my phone number are on there. If you want to send me your resume to take a peek after you've maybe made some tweaks, you maybe Taylor Swift it, and have a good night. So thank you. You're welcome, everyone.